Hello, Kirby again, as we launch into the 7th episode of Zoo Crew Revue, where we will be reviewing the 6th issue of Captain Carrot and his amazing zoo crew, and pair it with the classic Looney Tunes short, Duck Dodgers in the 24th and a half century! Let's get started with the cover, penciled by Scott Shaw and inked by David Hunt. The world's 12th greatest comic magazine. So an obvious nod to the Fantastic Four's persistent banner headline, leading us in the direction this issue's main story will be taking us. Captain Carrot and his amazing zoo crew versus the Bunny from Beyond. So I have to wonder if on Earth C, if Roger Rabbit's competitors at Marsupial Comics are Jack Rabbit Kirby and Stan Lizard writing the Fantastic Fur. The cover shows the Jack Kirby-esque Space Rabbit shown in last issue's flashbacks, having already defeated most of the zoo crew while blasting lasers at Captain Carrot from his ears. Leap in the lettuce! If that Space Rabbit clobbers me like he did the rest of the zoo crew, the Earth is doomed!
Not to mention Pittsburgh!
This issue had a cover date of August 1982 and on-sale date of May 27th, 1982. Our main story was written by Roy Thomas, penciled by Scott Shaw, inked by Alan Gordon, lettered by Annette Kowecki, and colorist Thomas J. Zucco, with editor Dave Manick. On the opening splash page, we pick up right from where last issue left off, with the zoo crew standing in the scrambled remains of the yoke monster who attacked New York. Except for Ali Katabra, who says, "Sure glad I can levitate to keep my new boots out of that scrambled space egg." With Rubber Duck and Pig Iron quipping, "We did it! We saved the Earth!
Not to mention us!"
As the citizens cheer on, including a nod to Rough and Ready with a dog and cat being in the forefront. As Oki tries to get Captain Carrot's attention,
Pardon me, Captain.
"Look, Oki Jr., I'm sorry I misjudged you before. If you and Whipley hadn't rescued Fastback from that giant egg yolk..."
That's not important, but I was just wondering, what did those ratsies that fought my dad, the original Oklahoma Bones, do with all the other alien eggs?
But the TV cuts into Oki's worries with the Tom Snyder show reporting. And since I can't do a Tom Snyder impression, it's going to be a Ted Knight riff. And I am going to say that the comic does one of my favorite cartoon bits where the TV is going to be talking to the characters even when they shouldn't be able to hear one another. "Well, what the heck, I've been cancelled already, so I might as well just come out and say it, right? There's a lot of excitement right now in Washington, D.C. It seems to have started out as a yoke that got out of hand." "Leap in lettuce!
Listen.
Thanks, anyway." Snyder then exposits of the White Doghouse egg hunt and mentions that Von Vermin is the ambassador from San Salamander, which is a change from last issue's San Salvador. I guess Thomas realized he was missing a pun last issue and worked to correct it here. "Some say Von Vermin's a bad guy because he's an ex-Ratsy, but I say what the heck, let bygones be bygones. You know what I'm saying?" So Tom Snyder is Nazi sympathizer. Got it. And I will say that on the page we get a bunch of nice headshots to show reactions from the zoo crew. As the news wraps up, Pig Iron bemoans to Captain Carrot,
Nuts and bolts, and this is all my fault."
"Don't blame yourself, Pig Iron,
What do you mean? After all, I'm the one that cracked open the first space egg while I was looking for something to eat, and it nearly ate me instead. How can I not blame myself?"
What I was gonna say, don't blame yourself. Let us do it for you. Captain Carrot hints to Ali Katabra to get them to Waspington to save the day, which she does, but bemoans that being the team's transport is all she seems to be good for. To which Yankee Poodle doesn't help by saying, "Yes, why don't you think of yourself as a transportation clause, darling?" But while they're fighting, the zoo crew and Oki are all zapped into Waspington. The zoo crew are in the thick of it as multiple yoke monsters are attacking, and their first priority, without question, is to save the citizens. Yes, even Yankee Poodle and Rubber Duck, so credit where credit's due. Pig Iron keeping one yoke monster at bay, saying,
"If this overgrown egg-roll tries to get any water out of me, he'll get nothing but rust out of my kind of springs."
Rubber Duck and Yankee Poodle save Art Porkwald, who I had to ask Ross who this was a parody of, and even after he told me that it was Art Buchwald, I still had nothing. And I really do hate to say before my time, but this was an instance where I just had to say before my time because I had nothing. I get to save the vice president. Typical. Ali Katabra resigns to herself while Fastback saves the president, even noting, "It's only fair to tell y'all, I voted for the Dixie Cat candidate." While Loki can only think to himself,
"If only I were a superhero too, instead of just a poor little prairie dog. Oklahoma Bones Jr., an adventurous son of a famous father."
But he sees Captain Carrot getting walloped by one of the yoke monsters, to which even Snidely admits that Oki's father will have been in way over his head, too. Oki and Snidely see someone about to be killed by a yoke monster and leap into action to save him, only to discover afterwards, to their dismay, that it's Von Vermin.
"You're safe now, fella. You will address me as sir, and you will like it. After all, I am not Victor Von Vermin. You? Oklahoma Bones? You?"
Well, now that we've got the intros over with,
Yoo-hoo! Zoo Crew!
The Zoo Crew rally from fighting with the yoke monsters at the call. What's up, Doc? You should forgive the expression. We had all our hands full with these egg yolks. But you sounded like you meant business, so.
I did.
Hey, y'all, that's the vermin we saw on the TV. Baron von Vermin, you reptile?
Right, the same ratsy my dad fought years ago on Easter Bunny Island.
So Von Vermin gives a brief recap to the Oklahoma Bones chapter from last issue. And if I forgot to mention it last episode, the Space Rabbit cocoon looks a lot like Adam Warlock's, just further reinforcing the Jack Kirby riffs we have going on in this story. Von Vermin says that he kept the alien eggs on hand, biding his time for revenge, as the Zoo Crew stare down at him angrily. Von Vermin won't disclose the location of the cocoon, saying, "I will never tell you, not in a million years," to which Pig Iron threatens him,
"Glad to hear it, Creep, cause we ain't got a million years. We got about 3 seconds, which is the same time you're gonna have enough teeth to talk without whistling."
To which the Ratsy folds like a deck of cards, saying that he hid the cocoon where no one would ever look for it, right where he found it on Easter Bunny Island. And I kind of wish in the next panel, as Captain Carrot and Oki are going over the next course of action to save the day, that we saw Von Vermin flying through the air after getting punched by Pig Iron. And Yankee Poodle continues to be the most unlikable member of the team, saying to Ali Katabra, "Then I guess it's time for Alley Cat Airlines to fly again. But I do wish you'd figure a way to show in-flight movies so we don't get bored." But our feline sorceress zaps the Zoo Crew and their prisoner away, leaving Oki and Snidely to keep things safe on the home front. The next page opens with a special story interrupting note. The Zoo Crewers don't really have a map like the one below, but if Raiders can do it, we can do it. So, what the heck, right? So, just in case there was any doubt left as to what they were parodying, with the Easter Bunny Island looking exactly like an Easter bunny. Seeing all the stone Easter Bunny Island heads, Rubber Duck figures this must be the right place, to which Pig Iron tells him, "No shit, Sherlocks." Ali Katabra thinks to herself, "Doesn't anybody say thank you anymore?" Captain Carrot starts pushing Von Vermin to lead them to the cocoon. In the cocoon's location in an extinct volcano, Captain Carrot notes the startling similarities between the glowing carrots coming out of the cocoon and the ones that give him his own powers. Can you handle it, Rubber Duck? Piece of cake, Cece. If you like 500-pound cakes. But before Yankee Poodle can open the cocoon, it explodes. Uh-oh! Quick! Everybody get behind Pig Iron!
Ouch! Thanks a heap, Boss Bunny.
We are treated to an awesome splash page with the space rabbit standing mightily with the tips of his rabbit ears cackling with Kirby dots, and our narrator telling us, "Mere moments later, the smoke clears, and amid the debris stands the awesome former occupant of the entire cocoon, a hare from the halcyon heavens, a coney from the far distant cosmos, a rabbit from the remote reaches of space, in short, a bunny from beyond." The space rabbit proclaims,
"Greeting, animals of Earth. From within my cosmic cocoon, I have mentally followed your pitiful struggles with the dreaded yoke monsters. I know you have freed me, so you can ask me to help you rid your planet of these evil eggs, and help you I shall. It will be simplicity itself, for my alien powers are increased here on your world, so that my electrical energies can easily defeat the yoke monsters, or lift a mountain, or turn the very seas to a vaporous gas.
The Zoo Crew and Von Vermin can only stare in awe, with Alicattabra noting, "All that, if he does windows too, I think I'll marry him." So Alicattabra really does have a thing for rabbits, doesn't she? Sounds like we're sure gonna get our money's worth, Zoo Crew.
Yeah, well, I'm a down and tomcat. You gotta show me.
The space rabbit starts levitating on an invisible frisbee, proclaiming,
I shall handle the matter of the alien egg things post-haste, Earthlings.
"You can levitate that thing? Like I can levitate?" asked Alicattabra.
The difference between your powers and mine, feline, is the difference between a firefly and a 1,000,000-watt beacon.
"Sure is modest, ain't he?"
Now allow me to concentrate but a moment.
We are then shown the space rabbit destroying the yoke monsters with ease in London, Waspington, and Parrots, with the editor's note saying, "See, Mr. Taxman, I told you that trip to Paris was a business expense, Roy." So as Kirby has a CPA moment real quick, that can be true, but it's really shaky, and please consult your accountant before trying to write that off as an expense. The Zoo Crew thanked the Space Rabbit for saving the world and even consider membership, but Von Vermin just has to open his mouth. "Alien Fate, do not pay attention to these dolts. It is I you should deal with. I, Baron Von Vermin, last of the Master Rat race. Uh-oh."
Well, what do you expect from a leftover ratsy anyway? What do you propose, Earthling?
"Blast these custom council atoms and team up with me?"
Ah, yes. I recognize your mental vibrations, repulsively twisted though they may be. You are the one who preserved my cocoon-wrapped self these past years, are you not? You certainly deserve something for your labors.
And to thank his ratsy captor, he turns Von Vermin into stone as the Zoo Crew can only look on in terror. They regain their senses, calling the space rabbit out on it. "Look, Rabbitoid, or whatever you call yourself, that wasn't kosher. Maybe Von Vermin was a criminal, and a louse, and a ratsy agent, but he deserved a fair trial."
Yeah, and then we'd have locked him up and I'd have eaten the key.
"Oh, shucks, you'd eat up the key even if he was a let loose." At Alicattabра's plea, Captain Carrot offers the space rabbit one last chance, even offering him membership into the Zoo Crew. Maybe she was thinking, let's not piss this guy off. "Right, would you like to join our little combo, Clyde?"
My name is not Clyde. I am Ralph 124C for you from the star Beetlejuice, and I mean to smash all of you who are obviously your world's pitiful defenders, but at a place of my choosing.
And with that, the space rabbit zaps them all to Follywood, so the planet will be demoralized by the Zoo Crew's utter defeat in public, and because it has a nice climate. We then get my favorite page in the whole issue, with the space rabbit standing menacingly in the center panel, while in the surrounding 10 panels show him effortlessly defeating all of the Zoo Crew, save Captain Carrot with but a flick of his ears.
I knew it! You're just a wolf in rabbit's clothing.
The space rabbit causing Pig Iron to just knock himself out, wrapping Yankee Poodle in her own animal magnetism, dropping Fastback through a hole in the invisible frisbee that they're all standing on, rebounding Alicattabра's magic back onto her. "Somehow my magic never works against much of anybody, but I keep trying. Maybe this'll be the time Nope." The space rabbit just effortlessly tying Rubber Duck into knots, and to Rubber Duck's credit, he thinks to himself, "Here's where Burt Reynolds makes like a real hero for a change." So at least he's trying to become more than just the showboat that he has been. Captain Carrot, the last one left flying, tries to stand up to the space rabbit, who just starts zapping him with his lasers.
What quaint names you have here, even ones which denote military rank. So, you are a captain on your world, are you? Let us see if my awesome energy burst can turn you into a staff sergeant, perhaps even a buck private.
All while the barely conscious Pig Iron thinks to himself,
"That creep got the captain too! We unwrapped that zapping zombie to save the world! and it looks like we just sold it down the river instead. I don't know. Some days it seems like nothing goes right.
However, Captain Carrot starts punching back at the lasers like his old five-fingered friend Superman, even as he starts to black out from the strain. But he tried, because every second counts. As the captain regains consciousness, he finds himself and all of the Zoo Crew prisoner in the Space Rabbit spaceship. Ralph 124C4U admits that the fight did weaken him, and he has stolen Captain Carrot's power-inducing carrots, noting to the similarity to the ones on his own cocoon. The Space Rabbit taunts the trapped team. I estimate that the final conquest of your globe will then take me approximately 6.3 of your seconds. Give or take a heartbeat. And to note that the Space Rabbit has trapped each of the Zoo Crew in their own personal transparent cage. What I like about Captain Carrots is that not only are his arms and legs restrained, but also his ears, because this is where the Space Rabbit's powers come from, and given their similarities, I think that is a really reasonable precaution for the Space Rabbit to take. Pig Iron is held suspended midair by magnets.
Me, the idol of dozens.
Just adding another delightful Fantastic Four nod to this issue. Yankee Poodle is trapped so that if she tries to use her powers, it will blow her head off, which is really dark. Meanwhile, Fastback is just surrounded by banana peel so he can't pick up any traction. And Alley Cat Tabra cannot concentrate because of all of the disco and music lights. And gotta be honest, that would probably do me in too. And Rubber Duck can't stretch because he's caught in a starch shower. However, Captain Carrot proves to be crafty like a fox, if you'll pardon the pun, because he reveals that he deliberately weakened himself in the fight so he'd revert back to Roger Rabbit's scrawny form and easily slip out of the constraints. While the Space Rabbit is distracted, Roger is able to steal the super carrots from right in front of the villain. The Space Rabbit is having none of this.
So, you escaped my metal shackles, did you? Then I shall rely upon my telekinetic powers to humble you.
I feel pretty humble, and yow! And starts getting flung around the walls of the spaceship like he's bouncing boy. Eventually, after being thrown through a wall and covered in rubble, Roger eats the carrots, so he's back to full strength once again, all while the Space Rabbit monologues to himself.
Bah, even the walls on this planet crumble too easily. I must make certain none of the other costume quadrupeds have reverted to some other form. But no, it seems like the only one who changes form under certain circumstances is the one called Captain Carrot.
Now, with a classic tap on the shoulder, Captain Carrot gets Space Rabbit's attention with a sneer before beating him in one punch. But the captain knows it's only a temporary victory and ties the Space Rabbit's ears together so that when he next tries to use his cosmic power, it will bounce back onto him, sending him into the void. Then the story ends with the spaceship vanishing, leaving the Zoo Crew on a building top, where Okie rushes up to greet them. How he got from Waspington to Follywood so fast, I have no idea. And Captain Carrot closes out the story saying, "Now, what do you say we all go relax in Bird Rental's hot tub? I've got a feeling things are going to be a lot quieter here for a while." For next issue, the coming of Bowser the Barbarian. So the story ending with the team on a rooftop and their ally for some reason being there with them, I cannot read as anything else but an homage to the end of the Galactus trilogy. See in upcoming 4for4 for details. But that's not the end of the issue. We get a 7-page backup Captain Carrot solo story, Digger O' Doom. This backup was plotted by Roy Thomas, scripted and inked by Scott Shaw, penciled by Mike Sikowski, inked by Chad Gropkoff, lettered by Annette Kowecki, colored by Thomas J. Zuko, and edited by Dave Manick. I have said some negative things about Mike Sikowski, and I am going to continue to be critical of him here too, because while Captain Carrot looks on model throughout this story, thanks largely to Shaw's inks, every other character looks off and does not seem to fit in this world. And it was on my third reading for this recording that I realized it was because everyone else has these very tiny beady eyes and not large expressive ones like Shaw usually draws. That would be fine if it was just for our soon-to-be-introduced mole character, but it's everyone and it's really distracting. Captain Carrot is using his superpowers to leap from tall buildings with a single bound to evade the New York traffic, musing to himself about his powers and expositing how they work, which I don't know if you really need, given that this was already shown in the main feature So maybe this was written as a backup feature they had in the back of their mind just in case? Without these vital veggies, I'm just Roger Rabbit, cartoonist, while the rest of the Zoo Crew have their powers all the time. But with the Cosmic Carrot, I'm one of the mightiest members of the team, not to mention their leader. And besides, even as mere Roger Rabbit, I managed to hold my own against that bunny from beyond. Anyway, Popeye the Sailor Dog has his spinach, so why not carrots? And from below, the New York citizens point up in the sky and go, "Hey look, it's one of them superheroes in town, Captain Cabbage." Big deal. Who does he think he is anyway? Super Squirrel? While up in the sky, we get from a traffic copter, "This is Dave Dove, live with this morning's K-Zoo Whirlybird. I am the Sky Traffic Report. First time we've ever encountered any traffic up here, folks." So to note, that because they're in New York, that should be W-Zoo and not K-Zoo. I'm sorry, usually I'm all for a pun, but it's got to at least make sense first. As Captain Carrot nearly arrives at the Wombat Communications building, he wonders what would happen if someone else were to try his carrots. Hint, hint. We're then introduced to the 19-year tenured janitor of Wombat Communications, Melvin McMole, as he works in the building's sub-basement. But before he can leave for the day, he has one thing left to do. "Jeepers, I forgot to close the executive boardroom. Well, just one more trip. And it's home to a TV dinner and all my chinchillas on the tube. Oh, goody." While in the midst of a meeting, one of the executives drops a document, landing on Mr. Wombat's foot. "Yes, it's so bright up here, I can barely see," thinks McMole, right before he stabs the document and Mr. Wombat's foot with a really sharp skewer. After howling in pain for several panels, Mr. Wombat then fires McMole like he's Mr. Spacely. McMole is kicking himself, growing angrier at his now former boss with every panel, as he walks to his friend Roger Rabbit's office before leaving the building. "Gee, Mr. Wombat was really quite rude. In fact, he really honks me off. Boy am I mad. Hey, Roger Rabbit Studio, maybe he can calm me down. After all, I kept him company enough times here while he worked all night to meet his funny book deadlines." But upon entering the empty office, McMole helps himself to one of Roger's carrots, transforming him into this story's titular villain, Digger O'Doom. And here's where Sikowski's art really does not work for me. Digger O'Doom looks so unlike anything else we have seen in this series up to this point, and there's really only so much damage control Shaw can do. It just does not fit. And it's like, this, if it was more cartoony, it would totally work, but it just looks disturbing and gross. Like, even the mud monster from a few issues ago fit way better than Digger O'Doom does here. After Digger leaves, the captain finally hops back into his office and immediately notices that one of his carrots is missing. The building starts to shake like a California earthquake. Hey, I remember that was California, even when the writers didn't. And Captain Carrot hops out of the window to try and save the building by keeping it up. "Good thing that last carrot I nibbled hasn't worn off yet, or I wouldn't be able to do this. Compliments of my very own Lucky Rabbit's feet. Sure beats the elevator. Hey look, wow! Gee ma, it's Super Squirrel," says all of the surrounding civilians. "Swell, I do all the work, and my comic book character gets all the credit. Stand back, folks. I'm gonna stop this shivering skyscraper right now." Despite being yelled at by Mr. Wombat, Captain Carrot is able to save the building, just in time for Digger to burst out from beneath the streets and attack Captain Carrot before going back underground. "Oh no, not now! Roger Rabbit has a deadline!"
"So, you're a comics fan, eh, Captain Carrot? Back off, Bunny. Deadlines are the least of Wombat's flunkies' worries, 'cause I'm gonna waste this building and everyone in it. Get in my way, and I'll make rabbit stew out of ya."
Captain Carrot follows after Digger, and in one panel we get 4 action shots of their underground fight before the captain is sent sailing back upside. However, Digger's powers begin to wear down, turning him back into Melvin McMole, who still fruitlessly tries to punch Captain Carrot like it's a toddler fighting Mike Tyson.
"Yeah, take that, you nasty old superhero. Ow, that hurt you, bully."
"Now you got me shaking, Melvin." Soon arrested, Captain Carrot thinks to himself, as soon as he can, he'll bail his friend Melvin Mole out of jail. And not before Mr. Wombat threatens the captain.
I want you to repair my building right now, or my lawyers will have your cape in a sling, get me? Oh, and if you see Roger Rabbit, tell him I haven't forgotten that deadline, disaster or not.
Our story ends with Captain Carrot hopping back into his office thinking, Great greens, the deadline! Maybe as Captain Carrot I can draw super fast and... great, just great! Now that I really need it, the carrot's wearing off. I'll bet this never happens to Popeye the Sailor Dog. So while I may not have loved the art, I think the story does hold up pretty well, especially with the short page count. We get a little characterization, motivation, we get a little action, all while the jokes keep coming. So a good effort on Shaw from the writing perspective. And I know we will be getting some more short stories later on in this series, and I think this was a really good early effort. So my final thoughts for this issue is I really liked the main story. I thought it was funny, well-paced, and really hit home parodying Jack Kirby stories. It was doing what this series does best. I do like that they kept Oki even as it shifted more into a Galactus riff. The Space Rabbit was actually a really kind of threatening villain and was way above the pay grade of the Zoo Crew from what they've had up to this point. Shaw's art was on point as always. And I am really glad that they didn't try and stretch the main story out to try and fit the whole book. So that they could experiment with the short story and with the thoughts I just kind of gave on that short story. I am glad that they did try it and that it mostly worked. So this was, again, just a really good issue. And I think that the two-parter really did work together, blending superheroes, Indiana Jones, and Jack Kirby stories all into one. And with that, let's get on to our Looney Tunes pairing. Duck Dodgers in the 24th and a half century was originally released on July 25th, 1953. This short was directed by Chuck Jones, story by Michael Maltese, produced by Edward Seltzer and John W. Burden, starring Mel Blanc as all of the voices, edited by Treg Brown, music by Carl Stalling, animation by Lloyd Vaughn, Ken Harris, Ben Washman, and effects animator is Harry Love. Layouts were by Maurice Noble, and backgrounds were by Philip DeGard. So I knew I was going to cover this short as part of this series eventually, and with the Outer Space Invader in the last two issues, now it just seemed like a perfect time. So Marvin the Martian, who was not named until 1979, was originally created to be a third nemesis for Bugs Bunny after Elmer Fudd and Yosemite Sam. And Marvin is an interesting inversion of Sam in that he doesn't get mad. He gets even. And of the three of them, I would probably say Marvin is easily the most dangerous. But interestingly, because of this short and its various spin-offs, I actually think Marvin has more of a Daffy antagonist, even though he faced off against Bugs in more of the classic shorts. While I firmly believe that Porky can hold his own leading a short, a lot of the time his best work is as Daffy's sidekick, which is how he's used here and in multiple other shorts throughout classic Looney Tunes. It's almost always the dynamic of the smarter and meeker one to the brash, blustering idiot hero. Porky is just kind of earnestly droll towards Daffy a lot of the time, which is just a dynamic I love. I see Zap Brannigan and Kif Kroker from Futurama. This short would be turned into a show on Cartoon Network in 2003, which ran for 3 seasons. I watched it as it was coming out. It was really funny, taking all 4 characters from this short and a lot of Looney Tunes as a whole, with the exception of Bugs. And it just made it, honestly, the best Looney Tunes produced thing in the 21st century. Like, again, it was just really funny. It had Paul Dini as one of the writers and had an episode where Dodgers actually became a Green Lantern in one of its episodes, which even included a cameo from Hal Jordan. And just as a quick note before I get to the short itself, I know next to nothing about Buck Rogers, except that my dad had showed my little brother and I some episodes of the 1970s show when both of us were little kids. This short begins with Dodger's spaceship pulling into a platform for his boss, Dr. IQ High, which is just a great name. So Dr. IQ High tells Dodgers that they are running low on Iridium Fosdex, the shaving cream atom, and that the only remaining supply is on Planet X in an unknown region of space for us to kick off the plot. Daffy proclaims it to be a job for Duck Dodgers in the 24th and a half century, while jumping up into the air before falling. And just guys know, before I forget, he makes this proclamation 2 more times in this short, and it makes me laugh every single time. Slinking away from his fall, Dodgers goes to the airport transporter where he gets into the rocket ship with Porky Pig, only referred to in this short and in the TV show as Eager Young Space Cadet. At launch, Dodgers accidentally puts the rocket in reverse, causing it to sink deep into the Earth before blasting off. Once in space, Dodgers provides Eager Young Space Cadet a hysterically overcomplicated course on how they're going to find Planet X. And when Dodgers asks if Eager Young Space Cadet understands, he just goes, sure. Dodgers just looks at him bewildered. And then he looks back at the course he just drew on the map, clearly not knowing himself what he just said, before Eager Young Space Cadet just says if they follow planets clearly labeled A, B, C, D, etc., they are sure to find Planet X. Dodgers just laughs it off, then just repeats Eager Young Space Cadet's idea, taking it as his own, to which Eager Young Space Cadet just drolly says, "Oh, how do you do it?" The duo then arrive on Planet X, the background of which is just made up of X's on mountains and trees and whatnot. Shortly before Marvin the Martian arrives, Dodgers proclaims this planet in the name of the Earth. Marvin then walks up beside him and declares it in the name of Mars. Dodgers tells him, there ain't enough room on this planet for the both of us. Marvin then quietly just takes out his disintegration pistol, causing Dodgers to laugh because he has on a disintegration-proof vest. But once he is shot, the vest itself is fine, but Dodgers has just turned into ash. And that's honestly my favorite joke in the whole short. Vest did exactly what it said. After Marvin walks away, Eager Young Space Cadet shoots the ashes with an integration pistol, and once Dodgers gets his bearings back, he accuses Eager Young Space Cadet of interfering and orders him back to the ship before confronting Marvin once again. Dodgers this time pulls out an Acme disintegration pistol on Marvin, and when he pulls the trigger, it turns to dust in his hand. What do you know? It disintegrated. Fleeing back to his ship, Marvin waits for Dodgers, but Eager Young Space Cadet opens the ship door, handing Marvin a stick of dynamite for his birthday. Marvin is pleased with a, "Oh, isn't that lovely?" before it explodes. Marvin then angrily shuffles back to his ship. In another duel of pistols, Dodgers fires from his ship an ultimatum dispatcher with a flag reading to Marvin, "Surrender or be blown into 17,600,002 microcells." Marvin fires back an ultimatum answer to Dodgers, which just explodes in his face, leading to another flag at Marvin just reading, "Ouch." Flag gags always very funny to me. Dodgers then spies on Marvin through his monitor, and Marvin just blasts him through the screen. So we got another little tie-in with this issue's TV talking back to the Zoo Crew bit. This causes Dodgers to just totally snap, and you get some good, quick bloody eye shots of Dodgers as he fires a bevy of explosives out of a cannon surrounding Marvin's ship, as Marvin does the same to Dodgers' ship. The two foes laugh manically as they both pull the explosive levers, reducing the planet to only a tiny chunk of dirt. Dodgers reminds Marvin that the planet wasn't big enough for the both of them and pushes him off the tiny chunk, before again declaring it for Earth for Duck Dodgers in the 24th and a half century, while Marvin and Eager Young Space Cadet both hang onto the roots of the chunk, with the latter turning to the camera and dismissively proclaiming, big deal. So I have no idea if the Cold War parallels were on the forefront of anyone on the shorts team's minds when they were making this, but it is really hard not to notice in hindsight. I mean, it was 1953, height of the Cold War. You have Mars as the red planet standing in for the USSR, and he and Dodgers as the other superpower blowing the planet up to rubble for a meaningless victory. Definitely brings to mind the idea of mutually assured destruction. In closing, this was just a classic short. I'd be amazed if anyone listening has not seen it before. Again, it's just very funny, and you can see why it got revisited so many times, not just in its own TV show, but in a couple of sequel shorts in the 80s and 90s, and once during Tiny Toon Adventures. I mean, even George Lucas tried to get this short in front of Star Wars as it was originally coming out, but unfortunately to no avail. So I got nothing left to say, but that's all, folks!